Hey, look, puppies! Hi, puppy! Hi, puppy! Alright, guys, so right here is Cycle City of Honolulu. As you saw, I just got done riding a furnace, candy furnace, something very complicated orange motorcycle name. I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts. It was a very short ride. I honestly don't know where I'm going. I need to go right, I think. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Get the heck out of here. So as you guys saw, I just drove the 2020 ZX6R from Kawasaki. It was the orange bike. It's a long, complicated name. And I'm gonna give you my initial thoughts about that bike. The one I rode had ABS. I only rode it for about 10 minutes. We went straight up a road, turned around at a parking lot, and came back to the dealership. It rode a lot different than I thought it would. I don't know what I was expecting, but the only comparison I have to a sport bike of that caliber is this one, 2004 ZX6R. That's what I'm going to compare that bike to, because it's the only thing I have. It's the only thing I've ridden long enough to get a good feel for and know what I'm doing. So when I first jumped on it, obviously a 600, even though this bike right here is 428 pounds. 428 pounds with oil and coolant and everything in it. So 428 pounds. That bike, sitting exactly the way it was, is 430 pounds. But the way that the weight is distributed on the bike, it feels a lot lighter than this one does. I think it's because it's a lot skinnier. The weight is a lot lower in the bike than this one because I have a heavy tank and I have a lot more things going on than that bike did. That bike was more plastic than this one. God! That bike felt very light compared to this one. It felt very racy. This bike is more laid back. This bike is more for a taller rider also. That is an absolute, the first thing I noticed other than the weight of the bike was that that bike had much higher rear sets than this one does. The rear sets put my feet very high off the ground, and I was not expecting that. The rear sets were high, but they were not uncomfortable. They after I got used to them about 5 minutes, I felt very comfortable on the bike. It felt normal. Every bike is going to have its differences, and you're going to be able to feel them, but you're going to be able to get used to them. And one thing that I didn't get used to was the throttle. The throttle on that bike was very plasticky feeling. I don't know why it felt like that. Maybe somebody can explain why it felt plasticky, but it felt like it was kind of gonna slide right off of the end of the bar. My throttle tube was gonna slide right out of the end of the bar, and I was gonna be left with just a clip-on. I don't know why it felt like that, but this one, obviously this bike feels a lot more sturdy, a lot more put together. That's probably why it feels heavier, is because it's made with more metal parts, I guess, and less plastic. I don't really know, but I know that that bike, the throttle tube, the whole throttle assembly just felt very plastic. It wasn't bad though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it didn't feel like this one did. Another thing that was very noticeable on that bike, jumping from a 2004 Super Sport to a 2020 Super Sport, was the suspension. That suspension just soaked up every single bump that I rode on that 2-mile long road that I could. It soaked those bumps right up with no issues, and it felt very smooth. Like, everything about that bike was smooth. Personally, I think the bike is beautiful. Some people might not, and that's okay, but I think that bike looks very, very good. Even in the orange, it's my less favorite color other than the black and red accents that the 2020 model has. I really do think that the bike looks gorgeous. It's a very well put together bike by Kawasaki. One thing that I really like about it is it has, whenever you turn the low beams on, the bike has both lights come on instead of just one. How this bike and how a lot of bikes do is they have just one headlight for the low beam and one headlight for the high beam. That is not the case with the 2020 ZX6R. There's a cop back there. I don't know where it went. I wish I had cruise control. One thing that I did notice on that bike is it has more engine braking than this one does. A lot more. And the lower RPMs, it's a lot harder to, I guess, ride the same speed, like kind of cruising at like 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. If you let off of the throttle just a little bit, then you're gonna throw yourself forward, and then you're gonna put a little gas in it, and then you're gonna throw yourself backwards, and then you're gonna throw yourself forward. So that's gonna take something to get used to if you're looking to get that bike. Going from a 2004 ZX6R anyway.